As early as in your late 20s, you begin losing muscle mass if you are not doing any strength training, if you're not eating properly. And this is actually what contributes to people by the time they're in their late 30s, 40s and stuff, if they're not exercising, if they're not strength training, to actually be accumulating extra weight. Because the last time I did the calculation, the amount of calories that your body would be burning less due to the loss of muscle mass, due to the rate of muscle that you're losing per year, would equate to about 500 calories per day for an average size person. And if you think about that, if you're burning 500 calories less per day, it's actually surprising that people don't get much fatter than they do when they get to their 40s and stuff. Hey guys, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics EC, helping average guys perform better inside and outside the gym. So as you can see here, I've been working on getting my pull-up bar set up, something I've wanted to do for about a year now, actually a little bit longer than that. I wanted to get into more body weight, calisthenics type exercises, gymnastics sort of training. And with the setup that I have at home in my basement, you know, I can't do muscle ups because there's not enough space with the ceiling and stuff. I also wanted to practice to learn how to do the human flag, but I'll have to create a set of stall bars on the side of this thing to get that all set up. To be able to work up to training for the human flag. Otherwise, it's kind of going from a 135-pound bench press and then just throwing 300 pounds on the bar and trying to do it. It's just like the gap between where you are and where you need to be is just too great, so you have to break it down segmentally. And unfortunately, all the parks, neighborhood playgrounds and stuff around here don't have anything remotely resembling stall bars that I could practice on, so I decided that I'd make my own. Okay, so the actual topic of today's video though is about what is the ideal protein intake, both for non-athletes and for athletes. And then also considering, since this is about, most of the guys that I work with are above 40 years old, as you get older, in fact, as early as in your late 20s, you begin losing muscle mass if you are not doing any strength training, if you're not eating properly. And this is actually what contributes to people by the time they're in their late 30s, 40s and stuff, if they're not exercising, if they're not strength training, to actually be accumulating extra weight. Because the last time I did the calculation, the amount of calories that your body would be burning less due to the loss of muscle mass, due to the rate of muscle that you're losing per year, would equate to about 500 calories per day for an average size person. And if you think about that, if you're burning 500 calories less per day, it's actually surprising that people don't get much fatter than they do when they get to their 40s and stuff, okay? So it's not that your metabolism actually slows down because of your age, it's because of the loss of muscle. And so for this reason, a lot of people are wondering, what can I do to prevent this loss of muscle? Now, obviously, the better your metabolic health is, right? The better your insulin sensitivity is, i.e. the more fit you are, the less protein and stuff you're going to need, the more anabolic your body is going to be. So you need to be doing strength training. You should also be doing some form of cardiovascular exercise as well. But you also do need to be making sure that you're getting enough protein. So how much protein should you be getting? Well, the government guidelines is about 0.36 grams per pound of body weight, right? And if you're getting enough carbohydrates, if you're a very young person, right? As we get older, our enzymes for being able to absorb proteins and other nutrients and stuff decrease, right? Also, if you are not regularly exercising, your metabolic health is going to be decreased. You're not going to have the same level of insulin sensitivity either as you would if you are a younger person, right? And this is why people who are younger tend to be able to get away with a little bit less protein. Also, if you're getting plenty of calories, especially carbohydrates, and you have good insulin sensitivity, you will be able to get away eating a lesser amount of protein, right? Because insulin is very anabolic, right? And if you are insulin sensitive, it's going to mean that you're going to be able to uptake those carbohydrates, uptake those proteins, absorb them efficiently into your body. Whereas as you get older, if you don't, and if you have poor metabolic health, you might need to eat more protein to sustain your muscle mass. But how much protein is that? So before we get into that, let's talk about also athletic performance. So somewhere between 0.5 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight is good for athletes. Now, bodybuilders, we generally just round that up to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight because it's not going to hurt you, right? Excess protein is not going to hurt your kidneys unless you already have a kidney deficiency, or if you are extremely dehydrated, you're not taking in enough water. But if you are already living a healthy lifestyle, you're getting plenty of water, it's going to allow you to hang on to that, okay? Now, the other thing is that if you're eating, one of the reasons we want to eat whole foods as well, not just from animal sources, but also from carbohydrate sources, is the more fiber that you get in your diet, your body, the gut, the microbes in your gut are actually able to create essential amino acids from the fiber when they're digesting it, right? And so that's why, one of the reasons why, in addition to all the other micronutrients that are inherent in there and the better satiety you get from eating whole foods, one reason why you might want to consider eating more whole foods, because you will be able to get more protein and not have to eat as much actual protein to be able to sustain your lean muscle mass. Okay, so back when I was in high school, some of my friends would, in an effort to try to be getting more muscle mass, would try to eat more protein, right? They would be like, well, if a little is good, let's eat a lot more. Some of the guys would be eating 2 grams, 3 grams of protein per pound of lean body weight. And this might be a viable option. I wouldn't go quite that high because even if you're dieting and stuff, but especially if you're trying to gain muscle mass, and I'll explain why here. If you are trying, so it has to do with hormones, right? So you've got glucagon and human growth hormone, which are kind of the ones that help you to release energy into your system, right? Human growth hormone helps to mobilize fat. Glucagon also helps you mobilize fat, mobilize carbohydrates from glycogen. They are more or less catabolic sort of things that help to mobilize fuel, right? Insulin, on the other hand, it helps to shuttle energy into your cells, helps to shuttle protein into your cells, right? And so if you're getting if you're trying to lose body fat, right, lowering your levels of insulin, lowering your calories, keeping the insulin levels lower by reducing carbohydrate intake can help your body to kick into a fat burning mode, right? But if we are reducing calories, we also need to be increasing protein intake to offset the fact that we don't have as much of an anabolic environment as we did before, okay? So that's why maybe 1.5 to maybe 2 grams of protein while you are, especially in the earlier stages of a cut, when you're reducing your calories, right? Especially carbohydrates. I remember there was one time I went from eating just a standard bodybuilding diet at about 300 grams of carbohydrate, 3,000 calories per day, and then I cut back to where I was eating very low carbs. I was eating much less calories, and as a result, I had to eat like 250 to 300 grams of protein per day for the first couple of months while I was transitioning, and then after that I could maintain at anywhere between my 190 to 195 pound body weight, anywhere between 100 to 200 grams of protein a day, depending on my activity levels. Okay, so the reason why you might not want to be eating excessive amount of protein, so over 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, if your goal is to maintain muscle mass, is because that unless your goal is to lose body fat, because protein is very satiating, right? Unless you're on a very low carbohydrate diet, right, or you're trying to keep yourself more full and prevent fat gain, eating this much protein is going to take the place of carbohydrates and fats, which are going to be more beneficial for the actual energy to do the workout, okay? So if you are eating this protein, it's decreasing your appetite, and the conversion of protein into carbohydrate for fuel is very inefficient. It doesn't make sense to do that. You're not going to be able to train at the same level of intensity, and so even if you're getting plenty of amino acids in there, you're not stimulating the muscles sufficiently enough to be able to produce the anabolic effect that you're trying to get. So to summarize, if you are a little bit older, you might want to go and be eating that 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight, right? If you are a sedentary person, I tend to say still stick with the protein, right? But you don't necessarily need to be eating that much protein because your calories will tend to be less in general, right? If you've ever tried to be not active and eat 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight, it's actually pretty hard unless all you're eating is protein. And if all you're eating is protein, then you're getting your energy from a very inefficient fuel source, okay? So if you're trying to build more muscle, then you want to stick to 1 gram protein per pound of lean body weight, get about 10 calories per pound of body weight for maintenance levels, and then add about 500 calories onto that per day, and let that ride and see, am I slowly increasing my muscle mass, a couple pounds per month, right? And if you're not, increase it a little bit more. If you're still not, you might want to look at the type of training you're doing and change that up, okay? If you're trying to lose body fat, then you might want to if you are having a hard time, staying satisfied with the reduced calories, fill up on extra protein. It's not going to hurt you, and in fact, it's very difficult to convert protein into fat, and so it's good on a cut, right? But if your goal is to build more muscle, you want to get the standard 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight, and then get sufficient amount of get maybe a 1-to-1 ratio between carbs and protein, and then have about 0.5 gram of fat per pound of lean body weight, and that'll be a good ballpark for you. If you're still not gaining weight, you can add a little bit more, add an extra meal in there, right, to bump that up a little bit more, get a little extra calories and stuff. All right, guys, hope that helps clear up some of your protein questions for the day, because I know there's a lot of this stuff, as the popularity of the carnivore diet and more high protein diets and stuff come around. There's a lot of confusion out there as to what is the optimal protein intake that you should be taking in. And so this is my take on it. If you got any questions or comments you'd like to leave below, what is your take on this? Let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.